Welcome to the Inspiration North podcast, inspiring stories from inspirational people and how they found their passion, their true north. I'm James Eves.
And I'm Michelle Minikin, and this is the Inspiration North podcast.
Today's episode, Keep Going Until You've Got It Right, with Jen Tait. We talk about her love of talking in front of an audience and wanting to be a newsreader, how you should surround yourself with supporters, and hear our favourite German words.
Jen is director of Rise Learning Group, a training consultancy based in the Northeast. Having spent 14 years in L&D, she witnessed the transformation of the industry firsthand. Jen has always loved public speaking, and delivering engaging, value-adding training is her passion. Jen believes that what cannot be taught can still be learned, and that not all learning takes place in the classroom. She founded Rise Learning Group to give individuals the tools to turn downtime into learning opportunities. Jen is a mum of girls and has spent the majority of her time in lockdown pretending to be Olaf, building dens and sledging down sand dunes. So Jen, thank you ever so much for joining us today. So, did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Yes, and it isn't what I am now. I always wanted to be a newsreader. I wanted to be on the 6 o'clock news, anchor woman on the 6 o'clock news. At school, I was on the public speaking and the debating team, and I've always loved talking in front of an audience. So I wanted to be a newsreader. And there was no doubt in my mind whatsoever that I was going to be a newsreader and I would achieve this dream of mine until when I did my English A-level and the teacher said to me, you can't be a newsreader, you can't pronounce your R's properly. And I do have a slight funny sound when I pronounce my R's, so that totally put me off. But I thought, you know what, I'm still gonna do something with public speaking in front of crowds.
What a shame.
I know.
Could you see me on the 6 o'clock news on the red sofa?
I could, or even as a reporter. You've got a good name actually for the end of a section. Jennifer Tait, BBC News.
Yeah. See, it was meant to be.
This one's on the radio, this one's on the telly.
Never too late.
Okay, so you were put off by your English teacher.
I was, so thanks for that.
So what did you do instead then?
Well, I've always been a worker, to be honest, Michelle. I've always had quite a strong work ethic. And even when I was at school, I had a few different jobs. So when I was 16, my first job, I did a Saturday job in a skateboard shop in town, in Newcastle city centre. And then I would go straight from there, after I finished at 5, to Chiquitos, you know, the Mexican chain restaurant. I was a waitress there. So I would go and do my evening shift there and do a few nights after school as well. So I was working 2 part-time jobs while I was at school. And I think that came from just the kind of environment I grew up in, to be honest. You know, we never wanted for anything. There's 4 of us kids in the family. We never wanted for anything, but it wasn't because we just had the money either. You know, my mum and dad both worked. Especially my dad. I mean, my mum did a brilliant job in bringing us up, all the childcare and working. She worked evenings on phones, so she did a brilliant job at that. And my dad was just always at work. He's a builder, so real salt of the earth. You know, the advice was things like always save a third. If you want to increase your wealth, you either earn more or spend less. Never get on anyone's debt list. You know, don't borrow money if you can help it. It was that real ethic of work and earn the money. But you know what? I loved it as well. Absolutely used to love going to work. So that's where I kind of started my introduction into the world of work. And then I went on to university, went to Northumbria University to do international business studies with German. So while I was there, I worked at Northern Rock on the phones. I was selling mortgages. I used to do the twilight shift after university. And I absolutely loved my time there. And that's where I really started my career, I would say, was at Northern Rock. So I was on the phone selling mortgages. in my third year of uni, there was a gap year, and I went away to a placement year. So I went to Germany. I lived in Munich, and I worked at Siemens for a year there. So you could either spend the year working, or you could go to a German university. So I chose the working route. Spent a year working at Siemens. Came back straight back into Northern Rock again on the phones. And then there was, I just kind of naturally progressed really within Northern Rock. So I went from the phones to being a team leader, to then being a section manager. And one day I was on a training course, and someone was at the front with their flip charts and, doing their thing. And I thought, well, I could do that. I would quite like to be a trainer and stand at the front. Everybody listen to me, that kind of thing. The glamour side of it. That's the side people don't see, is it? Is they're looking around the laptop on the tube in London and all the prep and everything that goes into it. Just see the glamour side. So I thought I really would like to be a trainer. So I applied for a job in the training team. And I was successful in that. And that's where I started in training.
Wow.
It's a bit like being a newsreader, because you're delivering key messages and things of importance to other people. I'm trying to draw some comparisons here.
Yeah, exactly. It's the similar skill that's needed, and you can see that why the appeal would be there to be a trainer if you want to be a newsreader. You've got to like to talk. Put it that way.
Yeah.
It's funny the comparison, because I did international business with French.
At Northumbria.
So.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Well, there you go. So did you go away in your third year?
I did. Although I went the university route. I don't remember there being an option to go and work. So I went to do a double degree, which was tough. I mean, I think it was about 8:30 to 6 lectures Monday to Friday. It was a couple of hours for lunch, of course, but it was solid graft. And it was all in French mostly, so really quite tough. Yeah. Good experience.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's why I chose the work option, to be fair. I had to speak German, so they did make me speak German when I was there. Loads of people are desperate to try out their English on a real English person, but they said, no, you're here to learn, you've got to speak German. And they had a swear jar, so every time I said a word in English, I had to put €1 in the jar in the office. I was like, you may as well just not pay me, and I'll just speak English and do it for free.
Oh wow!
But it was really useful. It was quite a lot actually to take on, because not only are you doing it all in a foreign language that you're nowhere near fluent in, you're just studying at university, you're doing it all in a foreign language, but also at that point you've only ever done part-time jobs and bits of jobs here and there. You've not worked full time, so it was a lot to kind of take on. But I loved every second of it. It was great.
Do you think you got a lot of your work ethic from that? Because I know sort of Siemens and German companies are very different, I suppose, from UK companies in terms of process and organisation and things.
Yeah, I mean, probably, Michelle, to be honest, it's probably just a build-up of all of my experiences I've had over the years. But I do think that solid foundation from my family is, that's the core of it. I would say, we all work, all of us in the family, we all, want to kind of do our best and earn as much as we can, do a good job, have a quality output, improve things for ourselves. We've all got that drive, I would say.
Yeah,
that's great.
Have you got a favourite German word?
Do you know what? There was you've just reminded me. So on the way, this is something that they never told me at uni, but on the way to the canteen at Siemens, it would be lunchtime, everyone would be walking along, and everyone would go, Mahlzeit, Mahlzeit. And it's just like a lunchtime greeting. So, but I didn't realise this. So then at the end of the day, at 5 o'clock when I'm going home, I was like, Tschüss, which means bye. Tschüss, Mahlzeit. And they're like, no, that's not right. That's out of context. You just say that at lunchtime. I'm going to go with that one.
What's your favourite German word?
The one I always used to try and get in A-level essays was Black Forest Gatto. Ein Stück Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte. It would take up like a whole sentence in an essay. Or Bushaltestelle for bus stop.
Bushaltestelle.
My favourite ones, I did A-level German as well, stupidly. And my favourite one is always Meerschweinchen, guinea pig.
It's funny the ones you remember, isn't it? It is funny.
It's funny.
And I don't think I've used any German since, so there you go. But it was a good experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, I love Germany. I lived in Germany when I was little. My dad was in the army, so we lived in Germany for, I think, 3 years. Absolutely loved every second of it. It was brilliant. Brilliant.
So you'd come back from Germany, you were back on the phones at Northern Rock.
Yeah, then moved into the training team. Yeah, and I absolutely loved it. So that was my favourite time of being in employment, was when I was on the Northern Rock training team. We were like a huge family. I'm still in touch with loads of them now. So shout out to anyone who's listening who was in the Northern Rock training team. There were such great days. And then in 2008, I left there to work at an insurance company. And loads of people left in 2008 because of the financial crash. And I was offered a job as a regional trainer there. So I left and went to work there as a regional trainer. Within a week of starting, they said, do you want to be the training team leader? And they said, you know, we've obviously just done your interview for the regional trainer role. We have a position to fill for team leader and we feel like you've got the right skills. So I said, yeah, great. You know, career progression, I'll take that role. Then I was promoted again to training and development partner. There were 6 of us within the company, all working on projects. And so I progressed pretty quickly, but I found that I was removed from the classroom, you know? So I started as a regional trainer. I'd done a week of it. And then for the rest of the time I was there, it was projects and meetings, which is fine now, but I was fairly young at the time still. And I you know, I wanted just really to be in the classroom. So I thought, right, do you know what? I'm gonna ditch this and I'm gonna make the transition to go self-employed, because that way I get the best of both worlds. You know, I can choose the projects that I want to work on, but I also get to do all of the delivery as well. Because I think in employed positions, a lot of the time in L&D, if you're a trainer, you're not on the senior salaries. So how can you get the money, the income, but also still do what you love? So I thought, well, I'll just do it myself. So that's what I did. So in 2010, I left and went self-employed. And that is thanks to a wonderful lady. I don't know if I can name her or not, if that's okay to do. I don't know. So that's thanks to a wonderful lady called Christina Pritchard, who runs a training consultancy called Meta Lucid. She came in to work at this insurance company that I was at, and as a contractor, and introduced me to the world of contracting, really. And she was just so professional. She knew her stuff. She was really talented. And even now, she is one of the people in my network that I really look up to and aspire to be like, really. You know, that's what I would base my success on. So she introduced me to what a potential day rate amount could be. And it didn't take much for me to then leave my employed job and say, well, I'm going to give this a shot instead, if that's what everyone else is getting. So I did that, and I left there in 2010 and set up Tait Training Limited. For the first year of that, it was pretty good going, in the sense that there was a load of variety. I'd won loads of different clients independently myself, and it was the true nature of being self-employed. But then in the second year of it, up till about year 8, I would say, so for a good chunk of my self-employed life, I was day rate contracting through an agency. Which was absolutely fantastic. You know, it was lucrative. It was fairly easy to get the work because the agency's there, got the work, you're in the books, great, you're in. But then it got to the point a couple of years ago where I thought, this is great. I've made a load of close business buddies through it. But is this why I went self-employed? I feel like I'm now just working for a company again, but getting paid a day rate. I'm not making the difference I wanted to make. I don't have the the influence that I wanted to have in how the training should be developed and implemented. It's not consultancy. It's just come in and do it this way, please, and we'll pay you for it. Which, like I say, was great and worked really well for us, especially because I had my two girls, Sophia and Zara. So Zara's now 5 and Sophia's now 6. So when they were young, that worked really well. You know, it's kind of almost guaranteed money, really, in a sense. And then I just thought, right now is the time. When Zara started reception, let's just stop and think, is this what you really want to do? And that's when I rebranded to Rise Learning Group.
Mm-hmm.
So still self-employed, but now I do a lot more work of it's winning the client, it's business development, it's providing quotes. You know, the pricing comes from me. There's no agency saying this is the day rate that's been agreed. It comes from you. And it's very different, and it comes with more challenges, I would say, but also richer rewards.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. No, it does. It's you're seeing almost all processes. It's start to end with a client. It's new connections all the way to delivery of a project, and I suppose that gives the variety and the excitement. And I mean, you obviously have the better times, and then times that things are not as lucrative. But I suppose that's part of the point of being self-employed as well, isn't it? You see the result of your efforts.
Yeah, that's it. And there is a lot more effort, but then you get to see the results. So it's rewarding. I do enjoy it.
So for Rise then, Rise Learning Group, tell us a bit more about the sorts of things that you do.
So we've been doing a lot. Well, that was one of my pivotal moments, really. I mean, hasn't everyone had a pivotal moment recently with COVID-19 and lockdown, and everything is now digital? One of the things that we've always wanted to do, which we've been given the opportunity to do now because of all of this, is to supply a digital offering. So over my years in L&D, I've always... there is so much that is face-to-face classroom-based training, and that has been unsuitable, shall we say, now for years. It's not just recently in the last few months. That's been unsuitable. People are used to getting the information they need at the click of their fingers, and you shouldn't have to book onto a course and wait to attend, and then you have a day and then see you later. Good luck with that. You're never going to hear from us again. So one thing that we're developing at the moment at Rise Learning Group is the Rise to Business Excellence program. Mm-hmm. And this is an 8-week program. Really excited about it. It's an 8-week program, and it's there's different topics that make up that program. So we've got leadership, project management, and customer service that form part of this program. The first 8-week category that we're going to launch is the project management one. So the stipulation for anyone to come on to this course is you must be working on a project, because the whole idea is we're going to help you through that project and implement the learning as you go. You're not just going to log on and do a 1 module online on project management. You're not just going to go on a 1 or 2 day project management course. It is an 8-week program where you will join as a cohort. You have to be working on a project. We've got various different topics that we cover within there. I'll go on to those in a minute. But you also get, as well as doing your online learning, which you can do whenever you like within those 8 weeks, you also have coaching sessions with myself and the team at Rise Learning Group. And you also get to dial into a live Q&A each week at the end of each of the 8 weeks. So 8 Q&A sessions where you can say, look, I've done the project management module with the project management tools. So we're talking about Gantt charts, critical path analysis, lean principles, stakeholder mapping, all the project management tools. We're covering that this week. I've done the online learning, but I'm really struggling to do my stakeholder mapping on this project I'm working on. And we do a kind of group Q&A coaching session at the end of each week to help you really apply it to that project. And one of the modules that I just think is brilliant is the process mapping one. So the brown paper exercise, map out your project, map out your process. And one of the things we do there is identify cost savings for that project that you're working on. So the business is realizing a return on investment immediately during the training. So that's one of the things that we are working on at the minute in development. We've got it all mapped out. We know exactly the topics that we're covering. Some of the other things are communicating through change, reporting, so defining KPIs, SLAs, monitoring billable and resource utilisation, reporting on a balanced scorecard, quality improvement, so looking at the root cause. Why has this project come about that you're working on? What was the root cause? What's the 5 whys principle and how can you apply it here? And then finally, organisational culture. So this is where we test their tolerance for disagreement during a project. So I'm really excited about that. That is the first one that we're working on, that we're going to launch. And I think that that's been necessary more so now than ever, because projects still need to land, and the risks have never been greater, the scope has never been tighter. So how do you make sure that your people are supported in landing these projects? Some of the projects might be to do with introducing a new product to the marketplace, or some kind of sales, some kind of selling. How do you do that sensitively given the current environment, the current situation? So there is a need for it. We went out to our current client base and got a lot of feedback as to what is it that you are struggling with, and everything I just mentioned, that's what came back. We need people to be managing these projects a lot better. And we'd love to support them for 8 weeks, and coach them and have these Q&A sessions and help them through the project, but we just don't have the time, we don't have the resource. So for anyone who wants to help their project managers, it's aimed at junior project manager level. Program manager, you probably will know a lot of this stuff already that we're covering, but it's that starting out, those junior project managers or work stream leads perhaps within an organisation that still has an input into a project. This is the course for them to go on to support them through that.
It's exciting.
It is, and I like that it's very practical. It's not just a kind of a log in, do your training, pick a few multiple choice questions. It's working on something that's relevant today and that will have an impact. So I like that. Yeah,
exactly. So that's the big thing that we're working on. That's the thing we're all excited about at the moment. We are, however, also doing a lot of onboarding. So we're working on 2 separate inductions for 2 different clients at the moment, one in financial services and one in the public sector. That again has been a challenge for people during lockdown. We still need to recruit, but how are you we used to have them in a classroom face-to-face for 5 weeks. So how do we do that now? Or even if it was just used to have them in a classroom for 1 day, as an introduction to the company, how is that done remotely? So we've done a lot of work with clients about not just picking up your existing induction and dumping it online, but actually look to solve the business problems that you've got at the moment by redesigning this new induction to be able to deliver it remotely. And then of course you get the benefit as well of, you don't just have to recruit from your local area. You've got a global potential workforce then if you're doing it remotely. So I could talk all day about what we're doing, but loads of exciting stuff on at the moment.
Yes, we've had that discussion with one of my friends who works in a public sector organisation, and how we're moving from sort of name blind applications to jobs, and they were talking about doing geography blind. There's a job in Newcastle. We've got a talent pool of X, but now quite a lot of jobs can be done remotely. And it's taken this pandemic to jolt the world of work, probably about 50 years forward compared to where we were looking to go in terms of flexible working and in that, that more digital workforce. It's a really interesting time, isn't it? And, I could I'm not going to, but don't panic, James. If I get a job in LA, almost, it's crazy.
It is, and it's exciting. And I think as well, a challenge though that's going to come out of this, which is what we will cover in our leadership arm of the Rise to Excellence program, is leaders are then going to have to go from a leading a local team to how do you then lead a global team potentially, and what are the challenges that's gonna present? So there will be some more development needed for managers if this is the way that it's going to go. But I think it's a great opportunity.
It definitely is.
I think as well, have you found with lots of conversations with friends, it's all of a sudden it opens your mind to, I'm not just looking for clients within a 2 or a 3 hour drive from Newcastle. I'm now actually thinking, well, I could quite feasibly work with a company in Amsterdam or
Singapore.
Yeah. And it gives you that sort of scope to say, well, actually, yes, I could do that. And I don't know why I've really thought about it before. Has that ever crossed your mind as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's loads of stuff that we're doing at the minute that we've thought, why has it taken this to jolt us on? Which I suppose is, it's all part of the learning, isn't it? One of our lessons is just try to think about the possibilities. Don't limit yourself. But yeah, I think that's a good point.
What have been the biggest lessons you've learned from moving from that sort of almost freelance contractor phase to proper business owner with staff? What are the lessons you've learned?
So I think for me, the biggest lesson has probably been around pricing. And I would say there's been bumps in the road, but I wouldn't call them failures because we've kept going until we've got it right. So maybe it hasn't been as plain sailing. So for instance, I might have agreed a piece of work and been really happy to accept it. Yeah, fantastic. But then actually, in hindsight, you think that was probably worth more than what we've done that for. So I think we're still getting our heads around that balance, that fine line between, charging actually what it's worth, but it's still being within budget and affordable, and basically where all parties are happy with the outcome. I think that's probably been a big lesson for us, and I think it is for a lot of business owners, if I'm honest. I mean, all you can do is base it on what you feel you would be happy with, and turn it away and say no if it's too low.
So it's awful when you send a proposal and everyone's like, they get really excited. It's like, oh yes, that's brilliant. I didn't expect it to be so cheap. I'm like, no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's well within budget. Yeah, that's fine. We'll go with it. You think,
can we have it twice?
But then, yeah, exactly. But I think as long as you're happy with it and you feel like you're getting, your worth, then I think that's fine.
Yes, I tried to introduce the concept of fun-based pricing as well into the organisation, but I don't think James is going for it. If something's going to be loads of fun, it doesn't cost so much.
That's always the joke, isn't it? That if there's a project you don't want to take, you put the price like way beyond. You think no one will go for that, but then the problem when they turn around and like, well, actually, that's fair. And you think, oh no, now we've got to deliver this.
It's fair because you were the only one that put a price in for it. No one else wanted it.
But I'm still a believer. So I get the concept of fund-based pricing, but I like the idea that, well, if you're going to enjoy it, why don't you get paid as well for doing it? So in effect, that's why you set up a business. I do this because I enjoy it. I totally believe in it. I'm passionate about it. Therefore, I should get paid for delivering something of value.
Well, that's it. And that's exactly why I pivoted to Rise Learning Group. Because I've just thought, what is it? What is the reason I wanted to do this? And because it's L&D and it's training and that's where my passion is, then pretty much any L&D project I'll be happy to do. I wouldn't want to do a project that I don't find fun and that I don't like. So I think I'm with you, James. I think just charge anyway. If it's fun, it's a bonus.
Yeah, totally.
This is why we keep James around.
It's like you wouldn't go to I'm trying to think of an analogy. a Premier League footballer and say, well, we know you absolutely love football, so would you mind just, we don't pay you.
Yeah, just do it for the fun of it.
It's kind of make hay while the sun's shining kind of thing. And if you do enjoy it, I think you will deliver something of the highest quality. People feed off that energy and say, oh, I love working with Jen, I love working with Michelle, because they clearly enjoy what they're doing, and we feel great. Something happens that's good, there's results. What a great feeling. I'm happy to pay for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here endeth the lesson.
So you're clearly a very busy lady, and with 2 very young children. How do you juggle it all?
Well, it's okay when they're at school. It's tricky, but Michelle, I've never been off. Even when I had them as babies, I didn't take any maternity leave at all. I'm really fortunate and very lucky to have a wonderful, supportive husband who is full-time dad. And he is around to help with the girls and housework and shopping and everything else. And he really, he sees how much my career means to me and how much I love work. And he roots for me, my biggest supporter, bless him. So he is happy to take on that role to let me pursue my dreams, really, I would say. So it really helps having him around. And with the girls, they're used to me working, but this makes it sound as though I never see them and I'm working all the time, which isn't the case. Being self-employed, running a business, you have quiet at times. It's one of the benefits of it. You can pick and choose. I might say, right, if the girls are off on Wednesday or something randomly, or if it's half term or something like that, then I might say, right, come on, we're all just gonna go to the park, or I live near the beach, so we spend a lot of time down the beach, and then I might work Saturdays instead. And it's just you just make it work. But I've never been one to take time off. Like I say, didn't have any maternity leave or anything like that. Just straight back into it.
Bless you. Yes, that's
good.
But that was through choice, though. That was through choice. Yeah, I could have been off, but I didn't want to be.
Well, I had my little boy in like a really, really, really snowy winter. So when he was born on Christmas Day, of course, because why would we do something that was like normal? And that first 6 weeks I couldn't drive anyway, but we couldn't drive even if I could. It was snow and ice. It was that sort of 2009 winter where it was just like didn't stop snow. It was relentless. And so, but yeah, I was very lucky. I was in an organisation where I had really generous maternity leave. So you had to take advantage of it, I suppose, didn't you?
Well, that's it. I was self-employed when I had mine, so I didn't have any maternity pay or anything, which was probably one of the drivers to make me not take any leave and just get straight back into it. But they're good kids, I'm thankful for that, actually. They're not really too much of a handful. They're good girls. And with having them so close together in age, they entertain each other and they play really nicely. So, yeah, they do. They'll sit and play with their Sylvanian families and do some colouring in and write letters to each other and things like that. So
there's definitely a difference between boys and girls, really, really markedly.
I tell you what's helped though in lockdown, the Xbox. Yeah. So they both picked that up pretty quick. So they're like, they play Sonic and they play Minecraft. So they do have, they like Mario. So they do have some. You can't really say boys' toys, and it's toys are toys, aren't they? But yeah, they're not just typical girly girls. That way.
Oh, I used to love Sonic on my Sega Mega Drive and back in the day. It's brilliant fun. That was my favourite. Cool. So moving on to the quick fire round. James, do you want to take it away?
Question number 1. What is the most beautiful view you have ever seen?
Do you know a place called Wallington Hall?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we go to Wallington Hall quite a lot, and I do like it there. and you can stand, there's an old house, and you can stand outside the old house next to where the sundial is and look over the meadows. And I love that, not so much just for the view of the meadows, but because it always reminds me of doing that as a child, and happy days spent at Wallington Hall, running around the fields, climbing the tree, you know, sitting on the lions' heads, that kind of big stone lions' heads that they have in the grounds. And it brings back happy memories. So I would say that one.
Oh, that's lovely.
I used to run around with my sister, and we used to pretend to be statues in the gardens as well at Wallington Hall.
Oh, that's lovely.
Good memories.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So question number 2 is, what skill or craft would you love to master?
Sign language. Definitely. I've always wanted to do that, actually. And the nearest I got was when Zara was born. I took her to sing and sign, which wasn't really what I had in mind. But I would love to do sign language. And again, it comes back, see, I'm destined to be on the telly. It comes back to this, well, you know, when you have people on the TV and they're doing the sign language in the corner, I either wanted to do that or be a newsreader. And also, there was a guy at Northern Rock who was deaf called Chris, and he was so lovely, and he was convinced I was called Claire, so he used to yell across the canteen, Claire, and I was so I used to try and kind of sit and talk to him. And there's just been times throughout my life where I've thought I really should be able to do sign language, and I would love to be able to offer training courses where I can sign as well. It's just been one of those things I've never got around to doing, but I would like, if I ever get any time on my hands, to go and do a sign language course somewhere.
Awesome.
Yeah, be a good skill to have. Question number 3. If you owned a restaurant, what kind of food would you serve?
Seafood. I love seafood. And Paul does the majority of the cooking in our house, my husband, and he doesn't like seafood, so I never get to have it. So for that reason, I would have a seafood restaurant. I used to work at Loch Fyne, which is a seafood restaurant. I used to be the host on the door. So yeah, definitely seafood.
Excellent.
So thank you for that. I've learned some new things about you, Jen. It's been brilliant. So if you could get into a time machine and go back and speak to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give to her?
I would say not everyone is always going to be on your side. I think as an 18-year-old, I was fairly naive. I was very happy-go-lucky. I grew up around positivity, people rooting for you, people celebrating your success with you. Everything was lovely. And that it's through experience. You don't have the experience at 18, but through experience, you find that actually that isn't the case, sadly, with everybody. And I was quite shocked, I think, to discover that. That took me by surprise. So I would say not everyone will celebrate your success. Some people will actively go out of their way to bring you down when they see your success, but don't spend any time or energy on them. Just remove yourself from their company, remove them from your network, and surround yourself with the people who are your supporters.
That's amazing advice. So thank you for that one.
Don't be shocked if people aren't clapping on the sidelines.
No, it's very, very powerful advice. Definitely be good to hear that as an 18-year-old. So if what we've discussed is of interest to anybody, what is the best place to find you?
The website. So www.riselearninggroup.com. There's a contact page there. You can find out more about our services as well. And you can also find me on LinkedIn.
Wonderful.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Well, thank you ever so much for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedule to come and talk to us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for listening. Check out all the show notes at inspirationnorth.com. Join us again for the next episode when we'll be chatting to another inspirational person. If you like this, subscribe and tell your friends. If you didn't like this, subscribe anyway and tell everybody.